The Do This podcast is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network. Bob Stewart, Chad Hyams, and guest Ramon Casaus dive into the essentials of managing a successful real estate business. Ramon began his real estate career in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 2016. His operations in 2 locations have resulted in nearly 3,000 transactions since 2017. Listen as Ramon shares insights from his journey, emphasizing the importance of setting clear standards and leveraging data for effective team operations. Tune in for valuable strategies and leadership principles to elevate your real estate business. We hope you enjoy this episode of the Do This podcast presented by Brivity.
Hey, Chad Hyams and Ramon Casaus. Gentlemen, welcome to Do This. Ramon, how are you?
I'm doing great, Bob. How are you?
Hey, man, I just appreciate you taking the time. I know that you run a really awesome business. You run it in a couple of locations. And so the fact that you're willing to give us a half hour to share a little bit about what you guys are doing, Chad and I really appreciate it. Do me a favor, introduce yourself to our audience here so everybody knows kind of who we're checking in with today, and give them the bona fides and let them know a little bit about Ramon.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Ramon Casaus. I started my real estate career in Albuquerque, New Mexico back in 2016. Long story short, I started an independent brokerage when I was about 24 years old, and grew that to one of the largest teams in terms of production and size in Albuquerque. Expanded into Scottsdale, Arizona back in 2022. So now we operate 2 locations, still Albuquerque and now in Scottsdale. And this year we should clip 3,000 all-time transactions since 2017. So we're super excited about that.
Wow.
Awesome. Bob, hang on. I got to ask a question because I've got Ramon here. Ramon, growing up, and I'll show my age growing up, Bugs Bunny was one of the go-tos. Is there somewhere in Albuquerque that is like a Bugs Bunny statue or named, but because he made the wrong turn in Albuquerque, like in every episode when he was trying to go somewhere? That's all I ever knew. That I didn't even know Albuquerque was a wrong place, but Bugs always said that he made a wrong turn somewhere in Albuquerque.
That's hilarious. Well, a lot of people drive through Albuquerque. They're traveling the Southwest, right? Like I-25 and I-40. But Albuquerque's better known for their amazing food, the International Balloon Fiesta, Breaking Bad. For anyone who is into pretty cool TV series.
One of the greatest TV series of all time. Yes.
Yeah. What's really cool about that is there's some specific parts that we got involved with on the real estate side. So some of those specific compound and houses we've done tons of events at, know the owners, helped them buy them. It's super cool stuff.
I could just talk about that with Ramon.
Yeah,
we can just skip this call, Bob. All right, get to it, Bob. Where do you want to go?
I can't believe you went Bugs Bunny with the opening question for our friend Ramon.
Everybody the right age that grew up with Bugs Bunny knows Albuquerque.
All right, Ramon, I think there's a lot of places we could go. You run a really impressive business. I guess tell me over the last year, like, what have you guys been focusing on? And we could go beyond that if it's been a continued point of focus, but what do you guys focus on your team, or what's something you want to share with the audience today that you think they should be focusing on?
Well, 2022, I should say half of 2022, majority of 23, and then majority of 24 were, out of my 8 years in business, were hands down the most challenging years of my career. Hands down. Not even in comparison. Didn't necessarily pick the perfect time to expand into one of the most competitive markets in the Southwest, Scottsdale, Arizona. But hey, you live and you learn. No one really saw that coming. But, I think that what we've been focusing on is this idea and this framework of more is not always better. Better is better. And when I say that, it sounds like, oh, okay, like, what does that mean? Well, when we took our second location, what happens is it's like a rubber band. See, when you try to grow your company in any way, shape, or form, you have a rubber band sitting on a table. And when you look at the rubber band, it's just a rubber band. But then you start to stretch that rubber band. And what happens with rubber bands when you stretch them? What happens to the actual band itself? You start to see all the cracks and crevices, weak points. And if you stretch that rubber band too far, it snaps. So when we were stretching our rubber band by opening another location, we got to really see all the inefficiencies and the holes in our business. And specifically, when the tide goes out, you get to see who's swimming naked, right? And what that means in your P&L is when that padded revenue, that extra 50, 100, 200 grand per month that hides all of those little mistakes and inefficiencies, when that tide goes out and then you start expanding, you have a business where it is evident where your weak points are at. And so for us, we look at building a organization and building a structure that can withstand the good times, but specifically the bad times as we continue in business when it comes down to the market. So that's in like a 30,000 foot view. We can get into the details, but that is what my focus is right now, along with syncing up so that both of our locations operationally look pretty similar on a day-to-day basis. Everything from the structure of the whiteboard in our office, which we have two of them, one in Albuquerque, one in Scottsdale. I want the structure on that whiteboard exactly the same at how we're tracking our metrics in our business. So stuff like that is what we've been working heavily on over this last, I would say, 6 months.
Well, that's how it works for McDonald's. One kitchen looks like another kitchen, looks like another kitchen. They're efficient. The more similar you can have things, the more efficient. When that tide went out and the rubber band was being stretched, and as you say, you can see who's swimming naked. What was the biggest clarity? What was the biggest challenge you saw as the opportunity exposed it that everybody else should be paying a little more attention to, Ramon?
Yeah, we didn't have clear standards about how to operate in our business as an agent partner, meaning that our business is fundamentally based on the idea of partnership and the concept of partnership. We didn't have clearly defined expectations about the standards that we were going to hold our partners to and the standards they were going to hold us to. And again, it's all good when sales are going through, everyone's happy, it's great. But then when it's not, all of a sudden you realize is that the agents themselves, from a tracking standpoint, knowing how many inputs are going to equate to outputs, knowing what activities they need to do in their day, having like a bona fide framework that they're working, a system every day, they didn't have it. And again, because the market, you didn't need one. And then all of a sudden you needed one. So we go, okay, how can we put this in place now and keep this? And we'll make adjustments as the markets create opportunities. We'll go from there. But that's really the foundation, in my opinion.
All right, what's it look like? So you guys decided, okay, we're going to put some standards in place. What are they?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a pretty lengthy list of standards that, well, put it this way. Having the standards written out and recruiting to the standards is step one. So first you got to know what they are. And then you have to infuse these standards in every part of the educational process to learn about your organization. And they're embedded into every part of being in business with you. So I'll give you an example. One thing that's on there is that you are ready, able, and willing to track all of your real estate activities, including your calls, text messages, emails, market reports, listing alerts, your client interactions, appointments, etc. And while that might sound simple, what that really means is you're agreeing to use the technology. Like, you are committing as a standard that we do business in our Brivity platform. That's how we do it. You can't be a part of our company if you don't do that. So going back to previous times, oh, Bob, he's not that good at Brivity, but he brings in, dude, he's selling 5 helms a month. Like, am I going to beat Bob up for that? Probably not. But what happens though is in organizations, you have someone who's crushing it, but they're not running the playbook. So what does that tell everybody? And they're allowed to be there still. What does that tell everybody else about the playbook?
It's not required.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's optional. So we had to get these old ways of, again, being able to hide the inefficiencies through revenue. We had to really get clear on them. And that standards is one specifically that is listed on our standards document.
Do you make them sign this standards? Like you said, you have it written. You recruit to it. Are they signing it? Are they acknowledging it? Is it posted on the wall so that every day they know what those standards are? How do you hold them to it?
Yep. Well, there's standards, then we have core beliefs. But standards are, they're gone. And obviously, signing is it's more of a formality than it is like a legally binding contract, right? It's more of, I just want to make sure that you know how important these are. I'm going to actually take the time to have a meeting that we sit down and we are just talking about this one document. And our leadership team knows if I ask you what's the most important document in our company, that is one of them. There's two, but that's one of them.
Can you go. So I want to take us back up towards the top again, because I think as you guys were talking, so standards. So we've set a bunch of standards for our agents. We're getting them bought in all along the way, you said. So it's obviously before they ever join the team. I mean, you're having these discussions. Are you trying to scare people off with these standards in some way? Like as you're recruiting to them, are you like extra on them just to make sure they get it? Because I feel like some people, they want to like bury the lead, right? They're like, let's get them to like us and then we'll like hit them with these standards. But I mean, you're holding those way up front in the discussion before they're ever joining, right?
A lot of times what I'm establishing is that, Bob, do you want to change your circumstances?
Which is okay. Yeah. That's why I'm considering partnering with you.
Yeah, correct. So you do want to change your circumstances, right? We've talked about things that you want in your life, better vacations for your family. You want to have, real deal healthcare that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. You want to net $100,000. These are all things you don't have right now and you want them. You want to change in circumstance. Cool. Are you willing to do things that you might not have done before in order to get things that you haven't had? Right. And I'm not asking like verbatim these questions. I mean, sometimes I am, but this is the point, is like, okay, cool. Here's how I've gotten there. And here's how I've helped hundreds of other agents get there. And what I'm going to show you is our plan on how we're going to make sure that you see, and as our partnership, as business partners, we see that you do hit and make those change in your circumstances. And it's simply, are you willing to change? Because nothing changes unless you change, right? There's two types of change that are going to change your life. One is something new comes into your life, or something new comes from within. And in this scenario, we got the best of both worlds. We got a new partnership coming in, and we're going to help you make changes from within so that we can get you to where you want to go. And then when you frame the conversations, like, I'm talking big picture transformational stuff. So when it comes time to bust out a little document that says you're going to track your sales process, like, oh, God forbid, you have to track your sales process in order to net $100,000 this year. Like, those become very, very easy guidelines. You don't have to like force on somebody
because they're bought into the big vision. They're bought into transformation.
Yes. Yeah. And in the grand scheme, it is minor.
Bob, are you okay if I'm going to make a sharp left here, right?
Let's go. Just like Bugs Bunny. We're headed out.
Yeah, where we go.
Right, absolutely. Okay. One of the terms we've heard in the industry for decades, right? And it's not only in our industry, of course, it's the sales funnel, right? Get as many people in as you can at the top of the sales funnel. And as each step goes, they get less and less and less, but they get more and more and more qualified until you get the drips that are coming out the bottom of the sales funnel. Talk to us about this sales funnel mindset that you bring to your agents, maybe some of the messaging you're using at the different levels of the funnel, and how you're using Brivity to help you make the funnel more efficient.
I love it. I love it. This was a great left turn, by the way. So the sales funnel, which my team was on here, they already know when my hands come up like this, they already know what we're going to talk about. The sales funnel itself it's the framework for the machine that you're building in real estate. And this machine, what it's going to help you do is your business starts off like this, and it is about 90% outbound effort, 90% new people, new phone calls, new relationships, new contacts over and over and over again, 90%. And the goal is to bring people into your sales funnel. So at the top are people that do not know you exist in the world. They've never talked to you. They have no idea who you are. The goal is throughout the duration of your career, and when I say duration, I mean like in the next 5 years, realistically, we want this to slowly become less and less outbound, more and more inbound. Right?
Okay.
This is how we create the referral business, the reoccurring revenue, the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, the thing every agent wants, because they just want to sit back and have the phone ring for them. They don't want to work for it anymore.
And it's possible. But if there was a way to buy it, Chad, I would have already bought it. And I'd probably be selling it to you guys. I'd already own it, and I would be figuring out how to sell it now. But there's not. And the longest way around is usually the shortest way home, because the shortcuts never get you there. The long way is the only way. Like that's the whole point. And so when we think about this funnel concept, right, we are bringing people into our database that through our activities, AKA standards, amount of activities that we're doing every day and how we're bringing people in. And then what we're doing is we're labeling them: new, unqualified, watch, nurture, hot, pending, closed, past client, referral. Okay. And then we're just labeling them. So they come into our world and we just label who they are in our sales funnel. That's simple. Now we take great notes. We obviously build rapport, find commonalities. We connect with people and we coach you exactly how to do that. And then there's 3 things that we've identified that move people down the funnel, right? Because we have the funnel now and they're in there, and we want to systematically crank people down the funnel. Okay. So number 1, which I think is the absolute easiest thing, is tasks on to-dos. Now, sounds super simple. Everyone's like, oh yeah, okay. But we have a rule in our company: 90% of your database should have a next task. So if you have 100 people in your database, I should see due today and upcoming, I should see 90 total tasks of reaching out to people in your database again. It's the backstop, your personal assistant, to make sure you don't forget about this person, because why would you spend all that time to bring them in if you're just going to forget about them?
So even if the task is, I'm going to call them in next quarter, I mean, that might be down the road, yet they have a task.
Yes, a task. 90% or more of your database has an individual next task that you are going to reach back out to that person. Yes.
Can I just tell you, so I've studied database, this math and all the data. I've been doing it really deeply for 7 years. Like, this is literally one of the answers.
Yeah.
It's also super rare to see it in action. It's like I joke, it's a unicorn. Like, somebody running their business like this is a unicorn, and it's weird. And it's weird because nobody does it like that, but it works. Like, the data absolutely suggests, Ramon, this is how you run a database. Just, know this, by the way. Like, you and I have had this conversation before. You know this, and I'm assuming that's why it's one of the standards. But like, if I could double stamp anything you're saying right now, this is the thing.
Yep. I couldn't agree more with. It's just so simple yet so effective. Pros are pros and experts are experts because they never miss the fundamentals. So the next thing we have is market reports and listing alerts. Okay. Every single person should be on a market report and or listing alert in your database, period. So biggest a lot of our partners understand, okay, of course, for sellers, yes, they're in there. Yeah, makes total sense, right? We teach them how to sell the report, right? It's not about just putting them somebody on it. It's about teeing up how valuable it is and what they're going to get from it. What would be the best email address for me to send that to? But then you have the listing alerts and you have everybody else really outside of sellers. And we've reframed the listing alert as an invitation. It's simply going, hey, Chad, in case you ever want to look at homes, here you go. It's one email. It happens maybe twice a month, if not monthly. It's not a big deal. It's super light. And it's just simply an invite that, hey, if you were curious about real estate, you can use my site to learn and search about real estate. That's all it is, an invite. Because a lot of people are like, well, they don't want to buy a house. I'm like, I know. It's not to buy a house. It's an invite to search on your site in case they were ever curious. So we plant these things, and the to-do is and the task is the backstop to this. Because if my client Bob, who says he wants to sell his home at the beginning of 2026 and we're sitting in May of 2025, and Bob is relentlessly looking through his market reports because we can see all the times. He's relentlessly looking through listings, and my next follow-up with him is in August. Well, after 2 or 3 times of opening the same market report, and specifically at different times of the day, because you can see what time, that's a green light to give Bob a call and just see what's up. Hey, I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball on anything. Has anything changed in your situation? How you doing? Blah, 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 blah. But we use these as indicators when somebody's virtually raising their hand going, hey, I might be interested in something. So this gives us the ability and visibility to know if we should reach out sooner than our task, right? So these are 2 simple things that help us become more efficient in our long-term nurture. And the third one, which a lot of agents don't want to hear, but it's just reality, is you just got to sprinkle a little bit more time. Just a sprinkle of time in that database, let it mature a little bit, get through some of those tasks, build rapport, and the leads come. But in the meantime, you're not just sitting there going, okay, waiting for my follow-ups to happen. Like, I'm just going to sit back. You're bringing in more people into the top of the funnel and running the play over and over. Because if we want to increase the bottom, right? So we have our funnel. If we want to increase the amount that's at the bottom, which I think every agent wants to, then we got to increase the amount of people that are coming in at the top. And then if we're systematically cranking them down the funnel, this is where we find the max efficiency. And this is like, blanket 101 stuff, but I mean, this is what we train and teach on constantly.
I think I know the answer, but can you, this is so good. You've got somebody bought in on this. They've agreed to do the standards, Ramon. They're in there and it's just not happening for them. What does a leader say to somebody like that? Because I feel like we have some people on this team that feel like they've put the standards out there. They've got their agents, or maybe even them individually as somebody that has agreed to a standard, but knows in their gut they're not showing up and doing it. What does it sound like from a leader to coach that person back to what they agreed to do when they first partnered with you?
Well, we have a core belief in our system, in our business, that goes data over drama. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at their dashboard and I'm going to go through their call sequences, open house sequences, and I'm going to look at their conversion. Because if your top line activities aren't enough, I don't need to coach you on how to close. You just simply aren't making enough dials. Assuming you're making enough dials and you're having enough contacts, meaning that you're having conversations, obviously the data is working, like you're talking to people. If you have 0 appointments, say you've called 1,000 people, you've spoken to 250, and you have 0 appointments, well, it tells me that you're probably not asking for the business, right? And we can coach to that. So what I'm doing is I'm just looking at what their conversion metrics look like, and I'm finding the discrepancies. And then what I'm doing is rolling up my sleeves and go, okay, Bob, your issue, it seems like asking for the business. Great. Let's schedule a time. I'm gonna jump in there with you, and I'm gonna listen to the calls, and I'm gonna listen to you ask for the business. Sound good? And I'm gonna sit there and we're gonna go through it. And I'm gonna listen to him ask for the business. And I'm gonna coach him live. Now, sometimes very quickly you will learn that they're not asking. They might say they're asking for the business, and then you hear them go for it, and you go, "Oh, that sounds like the first time you said that." and so we're not going to beat them up over it, but it's like, hey, and we got to coach to exactly where they're at. And so that's how I would handle it. If I see a partner who's doing all the things, I'm going to use the conversion and figure out where exactly their issue actually lies and coach just to that.
I love Dean's question. Ramon, what's your favorite ask for the business script? Give me just a quick and dirty, how you would, things are going good. The conversation feels like it's headed in the right direction. You could have just hung up and nothing happened, but what does Ramon do to kind of go for that ask right there? Ask for that appointment.
It depends what type of client, give me a little bit more context, because it's going to
past client. Just a past client that you've been
just somebody that's, because I'll give you Ramon, we might do something later this year, but gosh, it's probably not going to be till after the summer. And, but you want to lock me in right now. You want to meet with me and make sure I'm going to, what does that sound? It's probably going to be later this year, but.
Yeah, no, Bob, I heard you say, August. You said later after the summer. Okay. Hey, Bob. Hey, I appreciate you sharing with that with me. I just want you to know I totally support that decision. And I always want to make sure anytime we're working together, it's on the best timeline for you and your family. Just out of curiosity, what would be the most valuable thing that I could do from now until August?
Oh man, you could maybe help us figure out what we need to do to get this house ready to sell.
Okay. So, I mean, the point I wanted to make in there is that sometimes people go, okay, is that cool if I follow up with you? That's the most common I hear. I'm like, no, they just told you. Like, it's not about you saying, can I follow up with you? Because I need to ask what you want. Maybe you don't need me to follow up with you, but I make it about my agenda and not yours. So the first question I always ask is, great. What could I do that would be most valuable for you and your wife, or you and your family up until that point? And you might go, oh shoot, man, just maybe just check in from time to time, and we'll let you know how things. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll do that. That sounds like a plan. I'll give you a call maybe in a month or so, and just we'll go from there. The point is you said it, not me. The point is you told me to follow up now instead of me telling you I'm going to follow up and you say okay. And so it's just like at the very end, what I always frame up is there's a difference. We're kind of going a little off topic, but I think it's relevant. There's a difference between closers and salespeople. Closers get definitive outcomes. Salespeople get people excited, and then they wonder what's the next step. So I have all these leads, but I don't know. No one's really like giving me. That's a salesperson. A closer goes, no, I know exactly what they're doing. Because a closer ends the conversation with a definitive outcome. We're going to move the timeline to August. Great. Okay, we need to start doing something now. Great. What can I do that's most valuable? Okay, great. Here's the plan. Because if you've closed somebody from the beginning of the conversation, not just at the end, you've closed them. The close is not pushing them to do anything. The close is just a logical next best step. Like
which then becomes the task that I go put into Brivity so that everybody has a task.
Yes. And that's true advisement. Because again, if I've listened and heard you out at the very end of our conversation, I'm going, okay, Chad. So if what I hear is, just want to make sure I understand, you're going to do X, Y, Z in July until your kids get out of school. Okay. Does that sound about right? And you're going to go, yeah, man. Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, cool. Well, hey, in my experience, what typically is the next best step is X, Y, Z. And that is the close. We expect people to hesitate a little bit. And then we just got to walk them down the path of why that would make sense. And it's not a big deal.
This is so good.
And this, like, I'm giving you like the super bunched up version right now, but this is how I handle like every objection, recruiting objections. I handle real estate sales. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. That's how we're handling it.
Ramon, this is so good because here's like, and then this just wraps all the way back around to this. I think one of the massive takeaways from today is like, do you have follow-ups in place in your database with tasks, right? Because here's my question to every team or agent I come across that's got hots and watches and nurtures, and there's no next task. For me, it's almost less like, hey, Ramon, what are you going to do next with this person, right? Because I bet if any lead I picked out and said to you, Ramon, well, what are you going to do next with them? You could come up with something you plan to do next, even if it wasn't a task in there. But the more important question is, what does that customer in your database think is going to come next from Ramon?
Yep.
Do they have any expectation of ever hearing from you again? And I would contend that if there's not a task in there, there's no expectation that they have of you.
There's no plan to follow up. It's like that defeats the whole purpose of what we're doing, the plan to follow up. And the talking point is just conveying to them what the next step is and agreeing on a plan. And agreeing on a plan is also a definitive outcome.
Great point, Ramon, because why lead generate if you're not going to follow up with the lead you just wasted time generating?
Yes.
It's it's like a problem in our industry. I mean, it's a problem in all sales industries. I don't know.
It's a problem in all. I don't ever want to just beat
I've
up.
never heard back from a car guy that I went to a car dealership to look at ever. No follow-up. It's everywhere, sadly.
Yeah. Which means here's the awesome thing, and let's wrap it up with this. The awesome thing is it doesn't take that much to like separate yourself in this industry. I go back to something Ben says all the time. It's really easy. Like, be kind, do what you say you're going to do, right? Like, do what you say you're going to do. That's exactly what you're talking about here today.
Yeah.
And Brivity makes it easier, Bob.
I don't know. Look, the tasks you got, to me, Like that's a top producer, Ramon. You're a little younger than me. I don't know. You top producer, right? Like that thing was around in 1997. Guess what it had in it? Task. Guess why? Because it's a fundamental of the business. And you said it earlier, right? Like the pros, the Barry Bonds of the world, they get in the batter box at the exact same spot, and they know the fundamentals.
Did you hear Brian Buffini on the call the other day? Did you get a chance to hear that?
I did. Yeah.
Story about Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
And they're having at the Masters award dinner, and he's gripping a knife, showing him his grip on the club. And it's like, if you're going to teach a 6-year-old how to golf today, the first thing you're going to do is teach them how to grip the club. And I thought that was super impactful that two of the greatest golfers to ever live in the history of the world are at dinner, and the point of their conversation is teaching each other how they grip the club.
Yeah.
I love it.
The fundamentals. Ramon, thank you for joining us today, man. Again, I know you've got the business. You got a couple businesses you run. You got a lot of stuff going on in your world. So to take some time to spend with us, Chad and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, you guys, we'll be back next week. We'll do something else. This week it was get back to the basics, like follow up in that database. Ramon, you're amazing.
That's all.
Great week.
That's all, folks.
There it is. Bye, everybody. See you, Ramon.
Yeah.